was on the marketing team working directly with authors who were becoming New York Times bestsellers, Wall Street Journal bestsellers, USA Today bestsellers. And so being able to work right with them and their teams on marketing strategies and plans for their book launches.
Welcome to the Zarlequan Infamous! It's time again for Conversations with Indie Authors, where we spotlight indie authors from around the world. And today I have a special treat. I get asked constantly by authors, how do I become a bestseller? How do I get to be seen? So I brought Aryn Van Dyke on the show to help all of you, give you some amazing information. So welcome to the show, Aryn Van Dyke.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Can you explain a little bit about your background and why would you know about being a bestseller?
Yeah, happy to. So I got my start in the publishing industry back in 2015. So I worked for one of the big five publishers. I worked out of an office in Nashville. So really was on the marketing team working directly with authors who were becoming New York Times bestsellers, Wall Street Journal bestsellers, USA Today bestsellers. And so being able to work right with them and their teams on marketing strategies and plans for their book launches. So really was up close and personal with some of the best in the Christian publishing space specifically. And then I moved overseas in 2019, and from there decided I would stick with publishing and do kind of the same thing, but do it on my own and start working with all sorts of publishers and indie authors, and taking what I had learned from my time at a publisher, some of the best practices, some of the successful strategies, and start teaching that to other authors, particularly in the indie space, who they needed that information. They wanted to get their book out there in front of more people, but they didn't quite know how. So being able to step into that role and really bring more of those ideas, those strategies to more authors all over the world. So that's kind of my background in the publishing space. So now really mainly working with independent authors who they want to really figure out the best way to share their book with more people, sometimes become a bestseller in the process, but really finding the best ways to spread their message, spread their stories to the people who need to hear them.
Exactly. So now don't spill the beans of the whole book, but can you give us just a couple of tips to get us started?
Yeah. So I would say really the whole the book marketing process can be distilled into really three different phases. And because I'm a musician in my kind of free time and as a hobby, I decided I would kind of marry my two passions of books and music. And so my company itself is called Book Rockstar, but I kind of take the idea of the music process and relate that back to publishing. So I break it out into three different phases. So in the music terminology, it would be write, record, and then perform. That's kind of that cycle of a musician is they spend time writing, really connecting with the feelings, and then they spend time recording, making sure they're getting everything set up the right way, getting everything sounding right, testing out different sounds. And then the perform aspect where you get up on stage and you're actually sharing your work with other people. That same cycle can be applied to authors and can be applied to publishing. So it becomes clarity, investment, and mindset. So, having an author really needs to take time to get clear on who's their target audience, what is the message that they're trying to convey to this audience, and what's the best way to do that. Investment. So that's more time investment than anything else, sometimes financial investment. So taking the time to really figure out the right strategy for their book launch, and how are they actually going to get the book in front of their target reader. And then that last stage for mindset is, an author taking off the author hat, or like the writer hat, and being able to put on the marketing hat, because some days that's just what you have to do to really start thinking more like a marketer more than an author, to really think about, here's how I can have the confidence to go out there and share my book, share my story, with other people. So I would say those are, it really kind of comes down to that three part, three different phases: the clarity, the investment, and the mindset. If authors can really nail all three of those things, they're setting themselves up for success.
I love how you just melded all of that together, music and book. Because honestly, in my journey, I've been interviewing a lot of authors, but they're just creatives, and so they
Yeah.
branch off and do so many other things. Like, I had a guy that's a screenwriter. He's, in production, making movies and TV shows. You're a musician. I actually discovered that when I was like, saw you, I was researching and looking you up, and I found you're a musician, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you make beautiful music. And you just got engaged this year.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's
Thank you so
beautiful.
much. Thank you so
Uh,
much. Yeah, we're excited. We get married next summer, so we're kind of in the throes of planning, which is both fun and overwhelming at the same time.
Absolutely. You'll never forget it. It's going to be huge. Um, but you also live abroad as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. So my fiance has a job in at a company in London. So we actually we're from the US, and we moved originally in 2019 over to Sweden. So he did a master's program there. We lived there for about 2 years, and then now we've been in London, England for about 2 years. So we've been hopping around a little bit, which has been really fun. We've had some really great opportunities to travel around and see different places.
So that's cool. So you were both in the United States and you moved there together.
Yes,
That's been quite an adventure then.
definitely. But really, really,
Amazing.
really fun.
So are you helping authors globally then?
Yeah, yeah, helping authors all over. So, I mean, because my main network is in the US, I work with a lot of American authors. I work though too with some authors who are in the UK, but I've also worked with some authors in Australia. I've worked with some authors who are in the Netherlands, worked with some authors who are in Sweden. So it really is a global business, so to speak, because with Zoom becoming so popular, you can talk to and really start teaching, consulting with authors all over the world. So that's been a really, I guess, fun aspect of being out on my own and doing my own book marketing business, is because I've been able to work with all sorts of different authors, different genres, and who live in different countries.
Awesome. Well, how has that changed your perspective too? Do you think it's helped in your music career, living abroad and getting a different perspective?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, I lived in Nashville, Tennessee when I was in the US. So had just was surrounded at all times by music. And so it was so easy to be just like ingrained in the industry, ingrained in that community. So I would say in some ways, like moving out and moving abroad, being a bit more disconnected from like a music town, you really have to then go searching for it a bit more and be really proactive about finding opportunities. So that's been, I think, a bit of a learning curve, but it's also good too, because just new experiences just also open up the creativity as well in terms of writing. And so just being more inspired when there's change happening, to get it all written out and into a song.
That's awesome. Nashville, my
Yeah.
experience was everywhere you turn, there's amazing musicians.
Yes, that is absolutely true.
Pretty, very, very hot and humid, but amazing talent.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I do. I miss it quite a bit, but it's London too. I mean, it has a really great music scene, so can't really complain too much.
That's awesome. Okay, so my favorite song of yours, because I listened to a bunch of them, was Ghost.
Okay.
Can you talk about that? Tell us about it, and then I'll share that song here on the podcast for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So that song is really inspired by just the idea of having, having a crush or like loving somebody who is interested in someone else. Or so it's really that feeling of, I want to be seen by maybe this person so badly, but their attention is like completely on someone else. And so it almost feels like they're just looking straight through you like you're a ghost. So that's really like the inspiration for where that song came from, is like, really, having strong feelings for somebody who just does not feel the same way and just almost can look right through you in a sense. And so that's that was a fun song. That one came out really quickly. It's like some songs I feel like I'll start and it will take me maybe like a couple of weeks to really get to a final version. And some songs like that one, it's like I'll get the idea for, maybe the hook, and then within like 20 minutes it feels like, oh, I've got this song. So that was one that really, like, it came out really fast. So it was a really fun one to work on, and I love how I worked with a producer on getting the sound just right, and I really like how that one turned out.
Oh gosh, mixing, that's some hard work. That skill
Yeah,
that people have. Can you
I
tell
know.
us, where did you learn to play guitar?
I taught myself when I was maybe 14 or so. I got a guitar for Christmas and just had one of those like books that had all the different chords in it. So I just taught myself how to do the chords, and I would Google, like, ultimate guitar or whatever those different sites are where you can get chords for some popular songs. So I taught myself the chords, and then I would Google, chords for some of my favorite songs, and I would just kind of learn how to play. I would learn just the different then chord progressions that would come along with some of, my favorite songs. And so, for example, I did a lot of, Googling of Taylor Swift songs at that point. So learn to play guitar to a lot of Taylor Swift like Fearless album, which was really really special. So yeah, really self-taught more than anything else.
Oh, that's something I absolutely love. I'm all about educating yourself.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any other like ridiculous talents?
I wouldn't say probably any ridiculous talents. I think it really kind of starts and ends with music for the most part. I guess that's where it all landed. I will say I'm a pretty decent cook, but I don't do anything like super crazy. But I'll try out new recipes or try and put my own like flair on different recipes. So that's maybe
Ooh,
one area.
have you had to learn how to cook differently being in the UK?
I would say not too differently. There's some really the biggest thing is when I'm looking at a recipe, they just sometimes some of their vegetables just have different names. Like what we would call a zucchini, like here is like a courgette. And so sometimes, at least right when I moved, I would be looking at some of these recipes being like, what is this? Like, what do they want me to buy? And now I'm like slowly learning just some of the different names that they've given to vegetables that I'm like, okay, Now I know what they're talking about.
So my brother and I can do the tongue taco, but my daughter and my dad can't. Can you do the tongue taco?
I can do the one, is it the uhum?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one I can do, but there's some people who can almost do like a almost like a flower shape. I can't do that.
Oh, I can't do that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
My other brother can roll his tongue over. Uh, I think I can part way. Yeah, I can't fully do that. But my daughter can't. I'm like, how can you not do the tongue taco? That's easy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. That yeah, that one I can do, but some of the other ones I'm just like I stare in
Yeah.
amazement at the people who can do
I don't
that.
know how the flower thing came about. Like, what's wrong with their tongues?
Yeah. Right.
um, if you could have one thing, anything in the entire world, what would it be?
One thing. I would probably like a physical item, or could it be like a superpower?
Ooh, I like superpower. Let's do that.
Yeah, I would say the ability to teleport would be what I would pick more than anything else, because especially now living so far away from family and my friends back in the US, I think that's like more than anything else. I wish I could just like in the snap of a finger be at my parents' house or be at my best friend's house and just be able to like hang out with them at a moment's notice. But I would say if it was a physical thing, what I would say is having a second dog.
Aw.
Yeah.
What kind of dog do you have now?
She's a mix, like a Staffordshire Terrier mix with just a bunch of other random dog breeds, but I think we love like Whippets and Italian Greyhounds, so that would probably
Ooh,
be up there for second dog material.
that would be really cool.
If you enjoyed this show today, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. It's you that keeps us going.
The Zarlequan Indieverse.